What is so special about wild and well-written fantasy and SF books? How do they excite a part of me that almost nothing else can? This thrill is not as simple as it sounds. It's not like fantasy just pushes a button in me. It's more like it activates a constellation in my imagination, a wreath of Christmas lights, which good fantasy ignites with marvelous colors. I enjoy all kinds of book, but fantasy offers my favorite escape. Curiosity is a deep engine in me, and I like swimming in daydreams. I love to travel on an imaginary adventure to an exotic world, where people are strange and reality runs on different laws. I'm fascinated by magic, and the best fantasy and SF books make me feel enchanted. When you're a kid, you love candy, sometimes when you're an adult too. You can get transfixed by the look, smell, touch, and especially taste of sweets. One day you wander into a dazzling new candy shop, with hundreds of colorful, eclectic confections. It feels like magic. As an adult, I stumbled upon a list of NPR listeners' favorite 100 fantasy and SF books and series, a very fine list, picked out by the tastes of 60,000 dedicated fans. It is the most dazzling candy shop my imagination ever beheld. I'll return to that list at the end of this essay. First, let's look at a series I discovered in that candy shop of the mind, a 2,000-page epic that I read last month. Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn trilogy. Ash fell from the sky. Then watched the downy flakes drift through the air. Leisurely. Careless. Free. The puffs of soot fell like black snowflakes, descending upon the dark city of Luthadel. They drifted in corners, blowing in the breeze and curling in tiny whirlwinds over the cobblestones. They seemed so uncaring. What would that be like? Vin sat quietly in one of the crew's watch holes, a hidden alcove built into the bricks on the side of the safe house. From within it, a crew member could watch the street for signs of danger. Vin wasn't on duty, the watch hole was simply one of the few places where she could find solitude. Sanderson dives right into his heroine's hidey hole, at the start of her evolution and many adventures. But what's up with that uncaring Ash? Why is the whole sky shrouded in black with the dim sun fighting through it to nourish brown-leaved plants? Why do mists cover the land every night? Mists that most of the people fear, and bolt their doors against. These puzzles, their layers, Sanderson's interlocking systems and histories are very deftly woven. You keep thinking you see what's going on, then discovering more elements and meanings behind the surfaces. The ash-spewing volcanoes appear to be the biggest blight on this world, until you find they were a band-aid, ripped into being by God like magic, to defend that earth from an even greater peril. This earth is ruled, and all its ska, peasants, oppressed, by the Lord Ruler, who has been in power for a millennium. We keep learning morsels about him, but it takes 3 books before we see him whole, with all of his selfishness and cruelty and good intentions, all of his divinity and mortal failings. Every character here has their nobility and pettiness, all of the main ones go through major changes, across all the windings of the plot. I found a lot to like in this trilogy. Well, not quite a trilogy, as Sanderson has been adding another tetralogy, set a few centuries later on the same world. He also has several other series in progress, including the Stormlight Archive, intended to eventually include 2 5-book cycles. He gets carried away by his fertile, sweeping imagination. All I've read of Sanderson so far is this Mistborn trilogy. It is bold and expansive in its world building, but it does wrap up completely into a satisfying whole by the end. When we first meet Vin, she is a 15-year-old thief, one of the lesser members of Kammen's crew. Vin has some power that she doesn't understand, she just calls it luck. Kammen senses it, because he finds delicate missions go better when he brings Vin along. He's too canny ever to mention it, then he'd have to give her credit for it. But he resents her for having some power he can't understand, and can't just take from her for himself. Right now, he's been waiting for Vin for half an hour. There you are! Kammen lifted a squat, fat finger and jabbed it toward her face. Where were you? Vin didn't let hatred or rebellion show in her eyes. She simply looked down, giving Kammen what he expected to see. There were other ways to be strong. That lesson she had learned on her own. Kammen growled slightly, then raised his hand and backhanded her across the face. The force of the blow threw Vin back against the wall, and her cheek blazed with pain. She slumped against the wood, but bore the punishment silently. Just another bruise. She was strong enough to deal with it. She'd done so before. Listen, Kammen hissed. This is an important job. It's worth thousands of boxings, worth more than $100M.